Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Worshipping text 16, text 17, text 18, text 19 and text 20 of chapter 2.Contents of the Gita summarized of Srimad Bhagavad-gita. Text 16. नासतो विद्यते भावो न भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टो अंतसत्त्वन योस तत्त्वदर्शी धीः. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. There is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Puran 2.12.38, it is stated that Vishnu and his upwards all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotim si Vishnur Bhuvanani Vishnuha. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities therefore are always subordinate to the supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad-gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Text 17. Avinashi tu tadavidhi yen sarvamidam tama vinasham vyaya syasya na kashachita karituma rahati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pleasures and pains of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. The soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad 5.9 confirms this. Balagra Shata Bhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya Cha Bhago Jivaha Sa Vidneyaha Sa Chanantayaya Kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, the same version is stated: Keshagra Shata Bhagasya Shatamshah Sadrushatmakaha Jivaha Sukshma Swarupo Ayam Samkhatito Hi Chitakanaha. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom, smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body by the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived by any means in the body of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination but to the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.9, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Iso anur atmasetasa veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchadha samovi vesha prana isha chittam sarvam uttam prajanam yasmin Vishuddhe Vibhavati Isa Atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of air: Prana, Apana, Jnana, Samana and Udana, is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The hot yoke system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also factually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to the Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, and because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The indivisible atomic soul is definitely there in the heart along with the super soul, and thus all the energies of bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmented parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha or superior energy. So whether one follows Vedic knowledge or modern science, one cannot deny the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad-gita by the personality of Godhead himself. Text 18. Antavanta ime deha nityasya sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmadyubhyasva bharata. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. The material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately or it may do so after 100 years. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So from both viewpoints, there is no cause of lamentation, because the living entity as he is cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. The minute particle of the whole spirit acquires this material body according to his work, and therefore observance of religious principles should be utilized. In the Vedanta Sutras, the living entity is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the supreme light. As the sunshine maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains this material body. As soon as the spirit soul is out of this material body, the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is the spirit soul which maintains this body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and not sacrifice the cause of religion for material bodily considerations. Text 19. Ya enam vetti hantaram yashachainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not nor is slain. When an embodied living entity is hurt by fatal weapons, it is to be known that the living entity within the body is not killed. The spirit soul is so minute that it is impossible to kill him by any material weapon, as will be evident from subsequent verses. Nor is the living entity killable because of a spiritual constitution. What is killed or is supposed to be killed is the body only. This, however, does not at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injunction is Mahin Syat Sarva Bhutani, never commit violence to anyone. Nor does understanding that the living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. Killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punished by the law of the state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjun, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically. Text 20. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतो अयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or kutastha. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth from the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born. But because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present and future. He is eternal, ever existing and primeval, that is, there is no trace and history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc. of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. The so-called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence. But the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Katha Upanishad 1.2.18, we also find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate mriyate va vipashita nayam kutashachina na babhuva kashachita ajo nityaha shashvato ayam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad-gita, but here in this verse there is one special word, vipashita, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there and we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme consciousness is all knowledge, past, present and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.20 in this way. Anur Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atmasya Jantor Nihito Guhayam Tama Akratuha Pashyati Vitashoko Dhatuha Prasadan Mahi Manam Atmanaha. Both the super soul Paramatma and the atomic soul Jivatma are situated on the same tree in the body, within the same heart of the living being, and only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can by the grace of the Supreme understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature, therefore he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.